Welcome, Drink with James, episode 194. Coming live again from Florida. Yes, we are still here. No, we do not know when we will be coming back. But this episode, I am going to do my best in 10 or 15 minutes to tell you guys everything that I know as it pertains to influencers for the PPP loan, which is a part of the CARES Act that Congress passed. That was the $2 trillion stimulus package that they have passed in response to coronavirus and the resulting economic collapse. And for those of you who don't know, PPP is the Paycheck Protection Program. It is essentially built to be a kind of unemployment the government is paying to people, but through their employers, so that those employees keep their jobs and our unemployment numbers don't balloon. I think the idea is that when the economy reopens, if the government props up those companies and makes it so that they can continue and have an obligation to continue employing their staff, the hope is when the economy comes back, those companies can just kind of restart and they don't have to go through rehiring people and all that, and we don't have huge unemployment numbers, which is not good for the markets. It is not good for the general economy. It is not good for people's health. It's not good for anything. So for those of you who don't know, these loans are meant to be 2.5 months times your monthly payroll, and they're forgiven, meaning that for the vast majority of the loan, you don't have to pay it back. That is what makes it so appealing. And for brands and companies out there, what makes it life-saving for a lot of people. You know, here at Four, we have applied, spent a long time getting our application together and getting everything we needed to apply for this loan. Hopefully we'll get it. It will be transformative for the business and certainly is going to help us. But I have a CFO. He has 2 people that work with him. We have an accounting firm, we have lawyers, we have investors, and we have a team of bankers that we work with to all give us advice and tell us how to do this. And I realize that influencers don't have that, and there's not a huge amount of guidance, and this stuff is really, really confusing. So we did a webinar last week, which we have the full recording to. I think we're going to put up somewhere. But I'm going to kind of take what was in that hour-long webinar and try and condense it into a Drink with James episode here and answer all the questions that I can. 2 caveats here real quick. I'm not an accountant. I'm not a lawyer. I understand these programs probably better than the average person because I've spent a lot of time researching them. But you should always, where you can, check with a lawyer, understand your legal risks. If the government finds you falsifying these documents or getting this loan when you shouldn't, you could potentially spend up to 30 years in jail. That is probably certainly something that you don't want to do. So again, I'm going to try and be as open about this advice as I can, but I'm not a lawyer. I'm not an accountant. I'm not a banker. I didn't write these laws. I'm just trying to interpret them for you guys. Okay, so let's get into it. First question is going to be, do I need to have an LLC to be able to get the PPP loans? No. Okay, so on Friday, the government opened up applications for freelancers, sole proprietorships, independent contractors. So you do not need to have an LLC to be able to get this. If you have a Schedule C, if when you do your taxes, you fill out a Schedule C and you get paid through 1099s, you can get access to this program. Essentially, having a Schedule C means you have a business, so you do not need an LLC. Question number 2 is, how do I figure out what my payroll is? For influencers, for most of you, if you're getting paid with a 1099, what you want to do is you want to look at your Schedule C from your 2019 taxes, and you want to look at your net earnings, a Schedule C form from the IRS. It's going to be line 31 there, okay? And that's going to be your net earnings. You're going to divide that by 12 and then multiply it by 2.5. If it's just you, that's what you're going to do. Now, if you have employees, like for Four, we took 2019 average payroll across the whole year and said this is the average amount of money we were spending per month on payroll, and we multiplied that by 2.5. That's how we got the number that the loan that we applied for. So if you have employees who get a salary, then you can use that number, and you can use those employees in your number of how big your loan's going to be. But if it is just you, you're going to take your 1099 Schedule C, divide it by 12. Now, there's a very important caveat there. The government is not subsidizing salaries over $100,000. So if you made $150,000 last year on your Schedule C, and that's what it says, you're only going to be able to get $100,000. So in that case, it's going to be $8,300 a month. $8,300 times 2.5 is about $20,500 and some change, something like that. That is the size of the loan that you can apply for. So if you're a single person, you don't have employees, you made over $100,000, your loan amount is going to be about $20,500. And if you use that money to pay yourself for the next 8 weeks after you get the money, and your rent and some other things, but 75% of it needs to go to paying you, then that loan should be forgiven and you don't have to pay it back, which is very exciting. We'll get into more forgiveness later. Question number 3 is going to be, can I include independent contractors I work with in my payroll number? No, you cannot. They have to be salaried. So if you work with a photographer and you've worked with that photographer for 3 years and you pay them $2,000 a month, but you pay them as an independent contractor, you cannot include them. They can go apply for their own PPP loan, but you cannot include them because they're not actually an employee of yours. So independent contractors do not work. Question 4 is, what if I don't pay myself? What if I just take owner's draws? Again, you don't have to pay yourself that salary. You just have to average it out. So if the way you paid yourself was, you pulled $50,000 out of your business twice during a year, again, you would average that out and say I made $100,000 in a year, and you would get that $20,500 again. It would come about to the same amount. But you don't have to pay yourself a salary to do this. Again, look at your 1099s, look at your Schedule C. That should help drive what that number is for you. Question number 5, what if I haven't done my 2019 taxes? Good question. If you haven't done your 2019 taxes, you can use your 2018 return. Now, let's say in 2018 you made $50,000 and in 2019 you made $120,000. You're going to want to use your 2019 return so that your loan amount can be larger. You will have to do your taxes to do that. You will have to submit your taxes to be able to use your 2019 earnings to get the PPP loan. Next question. Do I have to prove that I'm not making money now to be able to get the loan? No. So this is different than unemployment, right? In that you don't have to prove that you're not making money. You don't have to prove that your business has taken a hit to get this. Ideally, if your business is booming and you don't need this money, you shouldn't apply. There is not a lot of guidance about how the government is going to audit these loans. But right now they're giving them out as quickly as they can, and I think they're going to come back in the next few years and do audits and make sure that the right people got the money. So if business is booming, if it didn't feel like you really needed this loan, I would be careful about taking it because we just don't know what the implications of that are. That said, if you usually were making, I'm going to use easy math. Say you usually were making $10,000 a month from collaborations you were doing with brands. That's down to $5,000 a month. You don't have to prove that to be able to apply for the loan. Again, it's different than unemployment. We're going to talk about how unemployment works with this in a little bit. but you do not have to prove that loss of income to apply for the loan. Next question is, how do I apply for this? So first, you should work with the bank that you currently bank with. So what's a little confusing about this program is that while Congress has signed it into law and the Fed and SBA are working on this together, it is implemented and executed by banks. And so each bank has their own set of rules of who they're giving this to, which don't always line up exactly with the actual laws. One of those rules that we're seeing is that some banks are saying if you don't have a business account, you can't apply for PPP. So even if you are operating a business, but you have a personal account that you're running it out of, there's a chance your bank might say that they won't let you apply. In that case, I would try and ask them if they could transfer it over and transfer you to a business account. Some banks will do that. But that is to say, the frustration is that banks are setting some rules that aren't actually in the law. And the Fed and everyone has suggested that you start with your existing bank. So if you bank with Chase, reach out to Chase and try and apply there. Bank of America, Wells Fargo, same thing. Everyone has these portals online generally that you can do this. If you have a relationship with your banker, even better, start there. If that doesn't work, you can also try places like Lendio. You can apply in as many places as you want. You can only take the loan out once. So for instance, with Four, there was a time where we felt like where our bank said they weren't going to do PPP loans. And I think we talked to 20 bankers and we probably put 10 applications in. And our bank finally came back and said they were going to support PPP, blah, blah, blah. Anyway, that's to say you can apply as many times as you want and it doesn't hurt to. So start with your bank and then maybe also try a provider like Lendio. Next question, how long does it take to receive the money? Nobody really knows. The Fed and SBA said they've given out about $180 billion so far. It's hard to say if that's what's committed or if that's what's actually landed. I've heard independent studies that say that only 2% of the businesses that have applied have actually received the money. So I actually haven't heard of any of my friends that run businesses who have actually gotten their loans yet. So we don't know the answer to that question. They were saying 3 days. That's not happening. But it should be, I think, within a couple of weeks of your application being accepted, which there's no guarantee that will happen. Another question is, do I really not have to pay it back? If you use this loan for what it's intended, which is payroll, 75% is for payroll. It can also go to rent, other benefits. There's a few things. We can put up a full list of what you can use this for. If you use it for those things, it should be forgiven. Again, we don't know the full implications of what is forgiven. There's a lot of complexity with you guys as influencers because you're taking this money and you then have to prove that you're paying yourself somehow. So I don't know if you have to then pay taxes on the money that you pay yourself out of the loan. I assume that you will have to pay taxes on that. So that is something to consider. I would definitely try and talk to an accountant or a banker about that. But if you use this money in 8 weeks to pay, 75% goes to payroll, and the rest rent, some other things, yes, that should be forgiven and you should not have to pay that back. And you're also not taxed on the loan, so you don't get double taxed. While you might have to pay taxes on the portion that you pay yourself as salary, you're not getting taxed on the actual loan. Let's talk about unemployment. Question is, can I apply for unemployment and PPP? I believe the answer to that is no. You have to pick one or the other, and I think for those of you out there, you just have to figure out which one makes more sense for you. You should be able to pretty easily figure out how much money you could potentially get from unemployment. And you should very easily be able to figure out how much money you could get from PPP. And you should choose the one that makes the most sense for you. I honestly don't understand a lot about, I don't understand as much about unemployment, so I can't give a huge amount of guidance there. I know there was a question essentially that was like, okay, if I work as a hairdresser and I have influencer work that I do, and I'm getting unemployment as a hairdresser, can I also apply for PPP for the influencer side of things? My gut would tell me no, but I don't know the answer to that. Again, right now, there's a lot of unanswered questions, and what is concerning about some of them is, if the answer is in 2 years that the government deemed that you did something wrong, you could owe them a huge amount of money. You could potentially go to jail. These things are serious, so I don't think you want to try and game the system. This is just to try and prop up the economy. So if you're already getting unemployment, I'm not sure that you'll be able to apply for PPP. Okay, guys, look, I think that's most of the questions that people generally have. Again, you can go to sba.gov. Also go to our investor has made a whole page with information on the site. We'll also link to that. I think you can also actually apply through that link if you'd like. This program for a lot of people can be transformative. It can definitely help you get through what is sure to be a difficult couple months for everybody. And I definitely encourage you guys to look into it. If you feel that you're a good candidate for you, I encourage you to apply for this, but understand that it's a first come, first served basis. There's right now $350 billion. I think they're trying to get another $200 billion into it, but there's a chance this money could be gone in the next 10 days, I would say. So definitely put some time this week into researching it, into applying, pulling all that stuff together, and making sure that you're part of this, because end of the day, as taxpayers, all of us are paying for this. This money isn't just coming from nowhere. Every taxpayer will end up paying for this program. So you, as an individual, will end up paying for this. And you might as well go out there and get the aid that is available to you. But I can tell you from personal experience, we spent 2 weeks working pretty hard on this to try and make it happen. So it is not an easy thing. We're not in Canada. You can't just click a button and you're in. You're going to have to put some work in. You're going to have to do some hustling. Any questions, shoot them our way. We'll answer them if we can. That site I mentioned that IndyVC put together is updated a couple times a day as new information becomes available. Good luck out there. As always, send us questions, and we will be talking to you guys next week. Cheers.